first of all, thanks for coming out. I was afraid as I'm coming, it would be just me. I guess the best thing to do is just kind of open up to any questions you guys might have. If you want me to just kind of blab up here and bore you to tears, I'm prepared to do that. I made a career out of doing that. But I think if you have any questions about the race or our company or things that happened in the past, I'd rather talk about things that are going to happen in the future more than the past. But I just want to make sure that you guys know we are totally available to answer all questions and hopefully give you guys some ease about a lot of the uncertainty that's clearly kind of on an overhang about this coming race, which I'm hopeful it will take place on April 21st, of this year. I'm a runner, but not like guys who are going to come run a half and full marathon. But I know what it means to go out there and run 8 or 10 miles at a clip. And if I'm planning on running 13 or 26 miles, I want to know that the race is going to take place, and I want you guys to know that it's certainly our opinion it's going to take place, and we're spending a lot of money with that intention, to become a reality. I had a great meeting in the mayor's office today. I think they're starting to get a much better positive vibe about what we're trying to do. They couldn't come out and say, your permits are all granted. And just to give you an idea of how the permitting process works, we've got some races where we put our permits in and we don't get the actual permits approved till 2 weeks before we run. So if you read in the newspaper or hear on TV that our permits haven't been approved yet, that's not unusual. It's just the way the system works. So we've done everything that the city and county have asked us to do. They've given us a list of people that they want us to really, kind of stay on top of throughout the process between now and the 21st, which we're going to do. We've got guys on the street like Steve Bingham here. He's been here for the last couple of days. He'll be here next week. He'll probably be here pretty much every week for a couple of days, maybe from now all the way till race day. We'll see. We've got kind of an all hands on deck because it's 60 days, 59 days, 58 days and counting, whatever it is. It's right around the corner. But we've got between Steve's organization and our organization, there's upwards of 100 employees between the two, kind of a belt and suspenders to make sure that we've done everything that we can do to give you guys a good race. And I feel very confident that that's going to happen.
And what are the two organizations?
Well, our company is U.S. Road Sports and Entertainment Group, and we bought the race. And Steve's company is Special Events Management, and they manage races and events all over, primarily in Chicago. But they're kind of they're like emergency, medical guys. They can come in quickly and make things happen. We've got the staff where we could have done the production of this race without them. And if we had 10 or 12 months lead time, that's exactly what we would have done. But knowing that we had 68 days or whatever it was from the time that we made the announcement, we elected to engage them and hire their services so that we could kind of give you guys, 2 for 1. And we feel really good about that. Really good about that. These guys, we manage a lot of big races. They manage a lot of big events. I think your biggest event is Taste of Chicago. Is that
North Halsted Market Days, which is upwards of 300,000 to 400,000 people in the span of 2 days. Right? So, and we're doing races anywhere from 200 people to 10,000 to 15,000 people races in Chicago.
So, I think we've got the best expertise. I know we've got better expertise than what you've had in the past, and I think we're probably giving you the best expertise between the two companies that's out there. I'm not going to compare us to the New York City, New York Marathon, but I'd like to. But you're getting a lot. You're going to get a lot of manpower from us, and hopefully a lot of knowledge to go with it.
So aside from permits, what other obstacles are you facing to pull off the race?
I really don't. Well, I'll take it back. The biggest issue we have right now is volunteers, and there's a lot of folks who volunteered in the past who are disgruntled, and they're not planning on coming back for this year. And they might have already made other plans to do other things, or maybe not, or maybe they're just mad. I'd like us to have 1,000 volunteers for this race. I think we can probably get by with 700 or 800, but I'd rather have more. And I think as a runner, you'd probably rather know that we're overstaffed in that area than understaffed. And so if we could reach out, or you guys have it in the goodness of your hearts to know anybody who would come and work the race, manning fluid stations, handing out medals, working bag check, all the things that you know, all the organizational things that you know that when they're there and you don't have to think about it, it makes a better experience. That's what we want, and that's what we're looking for.
We're taking steps with that. We just met with the Huntsman Center, and so they're going to be involved with volunteers again. And we've got several groups that are lined up to do aid stations. So we're already making steps just in the span of 2 days.
And there's been a little bit of a turn. I mean, when we talked to the folks at Huntsman a week ago, they were super excited about new ownership. And they had, some of their own beefs with old ownership, but they were really super excited about new ownership. And, we got a bunch of negative press, and everybody kind of took a step back. And so I was fully expecting them to say to us tonight, we're just going to kind of wait and see what happens next year. But it was just the opposite. We had a chance to chat with them, and they were like, no, we like what we hear. We think you guys know what you're doing. We trust the fact that you guys are decent guys, and we're going to help you out here. So it's a long-winded way of saying we need volunteers.
So volunteers and permits, if we clean up those two things, we're racing.
We're racing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you don't have crummy weather, I can promise you you're going to have a good race. And I can also promise you there are going to be some things that we do that are definitely wrong. But next year we'll correct those, and every year we'll try to make it a little bit better.
And just know with permits, it's more than just putting in some pieces of paper at a deadline that was established yesterday, which, we all got in. And it's about setting all these meetings up. We've been taking all kinds of steps to meet with the right organizations, municipalities. Everything is rolling. So we're not waiting for, some blessing or anything like that. We're talking to who is actually going to make this happen, the police that are actually going to be out there closing down the streets. Because we don't have time to waste. So all of that is in the process of being lined up.
So I don't mean to
keep
you guys talk, but what's your confidence level that you get those permits?
really, really high.
Yeah.
Think about it. If they denied us the permits, there's going to be some pretty unhappy people around here, right? Who wants to do that? Really. A lot of runners will come in from outside of the Salt Lake City area. They'll come in on Friday night. They might even come in on Thursday. They'll be in hotels for 2 or 3 nights. They'll go shopping. They'll go out to dinner. They'll spend money here. And there will be a lot of them. Well, who doesn't want to have that happen? The retailers certainly want to have it. The tax dollars that are coming in, it's good for the city. I think the running stores, it's just more activity to get people to get involved in the sport. I just can't imagine why anybody would not want us to have the race. So I think that where all systems go, unless we do something really, really wrong. And we just, we've got races all over the country. We don't do everything right, but we don't do anything really wrong.
All the conversations that we've been having with the different municipalities in the city of Salt Lake, they're right on board with their suggestions. We came with options of how to do the course, any changes that we would need to make, and they help steer us in the right direction. And to me, that is, they are invested in it and they're committed to it, but they need to see the paperwork to start getting all of the gears turning. And I think that's what today we really saw that happening.
There was an article written talking about the previous owner's vendors not getting paid, and that was a holdup. Is that part of the conversation? Is that something you guys are having to deal with?
That, it's a conversation we're having to deal with.
Is that?
But it's not a holdup. It's not a holdup. The city is not responsible or held accountable to get engaged with unpaid bills. Otherwise, they'd have nothing to do besides that. It doesn't. No. Now, I feel bad about the vendors who haven't been paid. I think some of them have been paid in the last week. There are some vendors who I think are probably going to find themselves in litigation with previous ownership. There will be several vendors who were involved in the race in years past that we want involved in the race going forward. And all we can do is tell those vendors, we're different ownership and we pay our bills. I can tell you that there's one particular vendor who, we're going to use him again for the services that he offers, and we gave him an order that was twice the size of what he had gotten with previous ownership. And there's no promises we're going to do that with anybody else, but we at least wanted to let people know that in a good faith effort, we're going to pay our bills, and in some cases we might actually be a bigger customer than what they had in the past. In some cases we might not, but in that particular case we are.
Have you finalized the course yet?
Yeah, I mean, we again, in our permit, the course starts about a block and a half, right, from where it started previously.
Actually, the course is going to start in the same spot, so right at Legacy Bridge. We're not changing that up, so everybody that went into that mode last year, getting off at the same track station, is doing the same thing this year. The only difference we're doing at the start of the race is that we're adding a little small leg on Waukera, so to go into Research Park for about it's about 0.9, almost a full mile, and that makes up for finishing the course a little bit further east, since we're not going all the way to Gateway. So there's it's less impactful to the city downtown, and we met with the University of Utah today, going over the course and our intentions, and they're behind us and they're helping us.
And again, the finish line area is different just because of the construction issues, and when we go into 2013, it may change again down there a little bit when we're post construction.
So as far as volunteer, do they just go back to the same website that we used before, or is it a different website we go into?
There's a function.
Volunteer?
There's a function on the website to sign up, but I know that it's not turned on right now, so you can't actually go and submit the form. We're getting possession of the website, hopefully any minute right now.
It's been a little bit of the website came with previous ownership, right, Steve?
Yes.
And so if it had been in our current ownership, that capability would be immediate. It's tied in with, as a vendor to previous ownership, and so we're trying to secure it to make things easier, and it should have been a much easier process than it has been, and I can't guarantee that it's going to be on by tomorrow, but
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. That's Steve Obert back there. He's our VP of Marketing, and so those are the questions that he has a better handle on than I do. But it's a concern to us, and we're trying to get it fixed as quickly as we can.
If you want to volunteer, people that are, we certainly take information today. We'll give out our information so that people can contact us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And Guy, maybe we can even coordinate it through the store here if you wanted to help us out with that until we get up. But yeah, that would be really helpful. Can I take your name right now?
So we have some folks on Facebook that can't be here. So
Yes.
They're asking questions. Can I just read some questions?
Absolutely. Actually, before you do that, I think there's a woman right here, since she's here, and then we'll go to the Facebook.
I want to know what your commitment to Huntsman is. My reason for asking, in the first 2 years, $10 was donated to Huntsman for every marathon entry, 5 for half marathons. I don't think most people know that only lasted 2 years. And so Divine used Huntsman to get all of the volunteers, to get so many of them. So they worked Huntsman to death getting volunteers, and then they quit paying them. They did allow spots for Hometown Heroes to raise money themselves, but there was no more payout, and I don't think the public really knew that.
Well, just so that the public, right, and I'll make it very clear so that the public knows, because we talked about this tonight. We will not have that same policy in place, and we don't have that policy in place in any of our other races with our charities. It's an overly generous commitment that previous ownership made. This particular business that we're in you can lose money almost easier than making money, and that's too big of it's too much stress on trying to break even. And so what we did talk about was finding some way that we can compensate on a per runner basis, but I don't know what that total is going to be. It's our intention to have it be something, but I want to be totally transparent. It will not be that. You probably wish for a little better answer, but I want to give it to you truthfully. Guy, I'm ready if you got one coming in.
First question is, if the race doesn't happen, is Active.com going to be issuing refunds?
One, that's not my place to answer that question. I'm pretty sure that Active has a no refund policy, and I don't blame them for having the no refund policy, and I feel really bad for the runner. because there you are stuck. You're 2 months out. You want to keep training. They want you to pay $90. And you're afraid that if you pay $90 and there's no refund, you're stuck. And at the same time, they're saying, and oh, by the way, in 10 days, the price is going up. It's just a crummy place to be in. If that runner were sitting right here, I would say to them, register and come run. I think we're going to get this race. I just don't think that the city or the county is going to deny it. But I fully understand if someone, doesn't want to do it because there is a no refund policy.
If the race does happen, will the course be radically different from years past?
No, I think we answered that. It's going to be radically the same with just that little bit of change on the picking up 0.9 of a mile up top and then at the finish line.
Where is the finish line specifically?
So that's going to be on North 300 West in front of the KSL building right by the arena. So in between North and South Temple. So instead of taking South Temple all the way down to 400 and then turning south, we're going to take people in a little bit earlier. And then the parking lot there, we're working with the owners to secure where they, I believe they refer to it as Meadows Plaza, where they did the awards for the Olympics there. So I think it's a great space. And hopefully when people are done running, they're going to go over to City Creek and enjoy the new shopping center there.
So is the intent of that to stay out of the gateway?
Correct. Yes, we
Is
won't.
the gateway non-cooperative, or is that?
It's really a distance issue, and being able to accommodate that large number of people for the post-race activities. We spent a lot of time over there in our initial trip last week, and I just don't see it. So honestly, I haven't had any conversations directly with the Gateway.
Steve?
In response to your question, where the awards were given last year, there is a new building there now.
Oh, is there?
There's no room there anyway, plus there's construction on tracks. So we can't cross either one of those.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then we looked at other, spaces in the area that we can maybe there's a parking lot over at 500 where people park for the Gateway, and it doesn't make sense. So
This is just strictly a suggestion, and my running circle may be different than every other running circle on the planet, but the course drives a lot of people away from this race.
And how come?
Van Winkle sucks.
And how long of a stretch?
There was a sign out there that said "Mind over Van Winkle." It's open, it's hot, it's just not cool. And then the stretch down 5th East is forever long, and it's through a crummy. It's not crummy, but it's just the same thing over and over again. And I don't think it really gives the best of what this city has to offer.
Well, I'll tell you. One, we love that kind of information, that constructive criticism. If you went on Map by Run and mapped out the perfect 26.2 miles, will you send that to me?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And put it this way, I open that up to everybody. I mean, you guys know it better than we're ever going to know it. So I'd rather get it all, and we'll fool around with it and see what it all looks like, and no matter what we do, someone's not going to love it. But if we can make it better, and it works with the city and the county, why wouldn't we want to do that?
But so you know, too, and again, I love that you guys have stepped in and done this, and I'm just praying that you guys are much better than the Divine Group, because they were, quite frankly, a cluster. But there are people that will do their own bandit run that same day to boycott the Salt Lake that I know of, just because of course and aid stations and all the other things that just suck about this race.
Well, tell them not to do that anymore.
Okay, I will.
Or ask them. How's that?
For the record, I like the course.
Well, there you go.
It's a tough course, and it's a challenging one. So.
Yeah, and again, if you even if you like it and you think it can be better, that's information that's really good for us, and then we'll just try to turn around and give it back to you guys.
And honestly, it makes a lot of sense just given such a tight turnaround with everything and having to coordinate all the different municipalities and police forces, Unified Police, Murray, South Salt Lake, Holiday. We'll certainly look at the course if you have some suggestions.
I don't expect anything this year or
Exactly.
next year.
Next year could be a whole nother
3 or 4 years down the road.
Yeah, and it can go faster than that. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do at the end of this meeting is I'm going to find this guy's shirt size so I can get rid of the Rock and Roll Marathon shirt that he's wearing and give him one of ours. No worries. We have some of those.
So, assume that the race is going.
Yes.
What about the bikes?
You know what? We took out a full-page ad, with Cycling Utah, 2 of them. You'll see the first one coming up next week, right? Next week after?
Yeah.
Where all systems go there. Yeah. Yep.
We're advertising.
We're advertising it. We're all systems go there. Yep.
We had a great meeting today with the previous organizer of all of the volunteers that were out there, all the bike marshals, and working hard on trying to get that in line again.
Yeah, some of my friends actually registered for bikes, and they're wondering if this is going to happen or just to run this year or whatnot.
We think it's everything that you guys had last year, with the exception, are we doing this 1K? Because that was new information to me today.
There's no reason why we can't do it. It's certainly not impactful to the morning. It just adds to it. So, But the 5K race will be a little bit different. It'll be starting and finishing at the same point. So it'll start where the finish line is for the marathon and the full marathon, or the marathon and the half marathon, and then it'll head out on Temple, going east down to State Street, and then head south and turn around and just come straight back. And that's to minimize impact on tracks. So we're not crossing any tracks that are going to impede any of the lines that day for people trying to get around that are not part of the event. And it also allows people to get back before the first half marathoners come in and finish.
Have you had any, obviously your experience of putting on road races, and it seems like for us in the running store, we kind of have the pulse on the community, it feels like sometimes. So we get to hear a lot of feedback and chatter in the community as far as post-race complaints, exuberations.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the constant complaints we have about this particular race are the little things that it seems like every race in this country can get right that Salt Lake seems to get wrong every single year. And we're not talking about the fanfare or the, having a great party after the race. We're talking mile markers where they're supposed to be, aid stations where they said they were going to be, with what they said there was going to be there.
Right.
With your warm clothes in an organized fashion at the finish line and not just some jambalaya. A complaint we hear every single year, have those been addressed? And I would think a lot of runners would love to hear that from you, saying, we're going to be having a top-notch event.
Right.
That we're going to be proud of. We may not get everything right, but it's the little things that matter to the runner.
Right.
We want to get right. I could care less if you have chocolate banana goo at aid station 7 or ice cream at the finish line.
Right.
But have the little things that we all trained for.
Yes.
They're available to us.
All right. I'm going to see if I remember all that perfectly. We will give you and the running community a really well-organized, well-produced event. We will have fluid stations every mile and a half, which is what we do with all of our races. If you guys need more water than that, then we'll work on that for 2013. I won't be able to go out and personally fill the potholes on some of the roads, but we will try to have all those things, and they're really not little things. Those are big things, and we're pretty good. That's what we kind of put that under the category of making sure the trains run on time. We're pretty good at that, and so I will promise you that those things, they're going to be there. Will we knock everything out of the park? Something's going to go wrong. I mean, in Miami this past year, one of our water trucks tipped over in a guy's yard at 5 o'clock in the morning. That wasn't good. And so we had an all hands on deck. We had to rent a truck and drive out to this guy's yard and take the water off and put it on another truck and drive it around and deliver it to the fluid stations. And the runners never knew a thing happened. It all went perfectly. So, we'll be out there doing everything that we're supposed to do. And I think those things will be taken care of. I really do. We just don't get complaints like that. And I mean, you can go on Facebook and you'll see a lot of traffic, post our events. And we put it all up there. We don't try to block anything. We don't screen anything or filter anything. We don't delete anything. It's all right there. I mean, 18 million profiles this year, or whatever we're going to have. And when we get complaints, we try to fix it. But we really don't get, we get way more compliments than we do complaints. And we stand by that. And that's pretty, it's pretty out there for everybody to see.
You're going to set up a Facebook page for Salt Lake or Twitter or something so we can keep up on this stuff?
Yes.
It's just called Salt Lake City Marathon?
Yes.
Can you repeat the name of the two companies?
My company is U.S. Road Sports and Entertainment Group.
special events management.
And U.S. Road Sports, why don't you tell them the events that we own and operate?
Yeah, we have the ING Miami Marathon, which is a great weekend of running. It's a full half, a 5K, a kids run, and this year was our 10th anniversary, which is what we're going to have next year in Salt Lake. Another reason why we don't not want to have a race this year, to have the 9th running of the 10th anniversary is a little odd. We had 25,000 runners, and that was a sold-out event for the full and the half. We could have taken another 900 runners at Expo that weekend. And as you know, when you sign up at Expo, you're paying full boat. And we turned those guys away. And the chief financial officer is, are you sure you want to turn them away? But we turned them away because we didn't want to have we didn't want to have a cluster. We didn't want to have an overburden on what we already knew was going to be a really big event. And that number was up almost 20% from the year previous. And when you get up into the 20,000 range, you don't generally look for 20% growth after that. Things start to flatten out a little bit. We own the Georgia Marathon in Atlanta that runs in March. We own the New Jersey Marathon that runs the first Sunday in May. We own the Chicago Half Marathon. That's a 20,000 runner event that runs the second weekend of September. We own the Sarasota Half Marathon. For the first watch of Sarasota Half Marathon, which is, if you ever want to come and run a beautiful, flat course, come on down. We'd love to have you.
I'm doing it.
You're doing it. You know what? You're going to love it. You really will. We own the 13.1 series, and that starts with LA in January. We had a different course this year. I used to love our other course, and the runners tell me they like our new course even better. We have the Miami Beach 13.1, which comes up in March, which is another fantastic course. I mean, it's a beautiful run. We own the New York 13.1, which is a totally different run. It runs through the parks. It starts and finishes at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Facility. And you got a lot of the old structure from the World's Fair that was there in the 60s, and the planes are flying overhead from LaGuardia, and it's pretty flat, and it's a disco-themed party afterwards with the disco music, which I know sounds completely corny, but for some reason people love it. And it's a great race.
When is that?
That's it's first.
End of March.
No, I think it's April, isn't it? The first weekend of April.
It used to be, we changed it to end of March.
Oh, okay, it used to be right around the time that the Mets home opener. And so, and that's another. It's a great event. We have a 13.1 in Chicago on the south side of town. Another really good course.
First weekend in June.
We're opening up our first, kind of a resurrection of our Boston 13.1. It's going to be on the North Shore. It's going to start and finish at the racetrack. We run right out to the beach along in Revere. There's a little bit of hill in the beginning of the race, and then after that it's dead flat. At one point of the race, you actually crest a hill and you look right down into Logan Airport and the skyline of Boston. It's fantastic. And then you circle around, you're right on the Atlantic Ocean, and you shoot up. We've got a 13.1 in Atlanta. It's a little bit hilly, but you can't do anything in Atlanta without getting comfortable with a little bit of hills. We have a great course in Dallas. We actually sent out, as part of our marketing campaign, tell us if you think this is the best half marathon course in the city or not, because we personally, we live there, so we get a chance to know what we know, and we think that it is. And then we have our 13.1 in Fort Lauderdale, which is our smallest market, but it was our very first one. It was kind of our test. And so even though it's been, kind of debated whether we just shut it down because it's a good running weekend that we could go elsewhere, we've left it in place for now. And I think that's our menu of races, right?
Yes.
Don't ask me to repeat that again.
Could you talk for a minute about prize money? It seems to me in years past, among those who felt that they were not treated well and may have in fact been unpaid were,
right,
prize winners,
yeah,
who were expecting prize money. And I'm just wondering how that has been either resolved with those individuals, or what your plan is for structuring prize money or not.
Let me go on record by saying that we have a history of paying prize money. And I say that jokingly because that really shouldn't be something that someone has to actually say. But we usually have a little bit of prize money. I can't even tell you if we have prize money at every race, Steve. Do we?
Yes, we
do. Okay. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's a token of, if you're going to come out here and win something, you should get something. If there are past winners who haven't won any, haven't received their prize money, it's not our obligation, and we don't want to fall in the trap of even trying to satisfy one unpaid vendor. Because if you pay one, now you really have opened up a Pandora's box. Why don't you pay everybody? So, I feel bad that they haven't been paid, but I feel good about the fact that everybody will get paid if they're running in an event that we own. Yes, sir.
More Facebook questions.
Great.
When you have a second.
Yeah.
Just random question. Who's your energy sponsor?
Do we have an energy?
No, we don't.
Cliff.
When you said energy, I was thinking.
What's on gas? These guys are from Texas. They're thinking.
Right. Is there any other kind of energy?
Like Reliant or.
You're right.
That's what my mind was. We've dealt with goo in the past at some of our other events. I don't know that we've crossed that bridge yet for this event.
Yeah.
So TBD.
Yes.
If they run out of shirts, this is obviously something that's happened before. Will they be able to guarantee runners get shirts post-race?
I can tell you, I'll answer that question two ways. One, we've never run out of shirts that I know of, right? Even this past year with 25,000, we still had shirts, didn't we? If we run out of shirts, we'll get them a shirt post-race.
If they run out of medals, will they guarantee finishers will get their medals?
This year was the first year in Miami where we ran out of medals, even though we ordered enough because we got a couple of boxes that came in that were the wrong medal. So yes, if we run out of medals post-race, we will send them one. Yes, I'm sorry, I think you were first.
Oh, okay. I have a question. I've run for Huntsman the last 4 years, and we've also been on the race committee with Salt Lake since the beginning.
Fantastic.
And we do registration, and we're one of the ones that aren't coming back, but my concern is...
You had me all the way up till you got that we're not. I was like ready to come over and offer you some sort of gifting until that last sentence.
And we're so happy. We have been saying for years that someone needed to buy this race because the potential is there. The management was horrible from Chicago, but we stayed with it because we love Salt Lake, we love to run, we love the event. But our backs have been broken. Right. So my question is, and I don't know how much of the press is true, but did you disclose to Salt Lake that you had past divine relations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely did.
And so all my running circles find out, it's divine all over. They're just same people. And so
I've known Chris. Yes, I've known Chris Divine for 22 years, maybe 23 years, and I wouldn't be in the running business if it wasn't for Chris Divine. The guy can be kind of a knucklehead. But so can't we all? He's done some things here in the community that I know you guys are up in arms about, and rightfully so. In some defense of him, he did come here and start the marathon. You got to give the guy a little bit of credit.
And we were there.
Right? We wouldn't be buying anything right now if he hadn't come here, and he gave it a go. And he made promises that he couldn't keep. But he did start the race, and I know he put a lot of heart and soul into doing that, and he loves it here. He loves Salt Lake City. He loves... It breaks his heart that all of this has happened, but it still happened. So, do I know him? Yeah.
No current
no.
business, Marathon Media?
Well, keep in mind, Marathon Media was a radio company. Right. Unfortunately, it was called Marathon Media because it was this whole conspiracy theory of, oh my God, and that was a radio company that I helped raise a lot of money for him to create, and I sat on the board of that company for 8 or 9 or 7 years or whatever it happened to be, and. I'm proud of the work that I did to try to help that company, give superior returns for the investors and offer good service to the listeners and everything else. The race business is a completely different business. And in fact, I might be giving you more information, but I think I'd rather do that than less. Before we even started U.S. Road Sports, I called Chris and I asked him if he felt okay if we came into a business that he was already in, because I didn't want him to think that we were coming in to be a competitor of his. And if he had said to me, I really think you're kind of poaching an area that I'm trying to build a business in, I wouldn't have gone into it. And instead he said, no, you know what, if you want to come into the business, that'd be great. And within 7 months of having that conversation with him, we ended up buying one of the races from him, which was the Chicago Half Marathon. So, no one can condone not paying vendors or runners who win races. It's inexcusable. But I'm also not going to stand here and say, or sit here and say, that I'm never going to be in business with Chris Divine on some radio deal if he brings it to me in 2015, or if he brought me some project in Chicago to buy a piece of real estate that he thought it was interesting, because I'm not going to throw him under the bus like that. But I will tell you is he has nothing to do with this race. His company has nothing to do with our company. He has nothing to do with our other races. He's trying to actually get out of the running business, and if we're lucky, we'll buy all of his races. If we're unlucky, we'll run into all the same problems that we did here.
So is AA Sports going to be your timing? Are you going to honor that contract?
No, and well, here's the thing. We already have a timing contract that works across the board for all of our races, and we honor the contracts that we have. And so AA Racing, if they're going to be in some litigated dispute with Chris, in all likelihood, knowing that the dollar amount is as large as it is, we'll probably head that direction. We'll stay way out of the way of that. And we have our own timing company, who, by the way, is always current after the race because we pay our bills. And that will be the timing company that we bring here. Yes, ma'am?
But so many of the complaints that we're hearing here, like little things to the runners, were things that were micromanaged by Chicago that we had no control over, but we're the front line, so we're the ones that everybody saw and blamed for everything.
Right, and I heard some horror stories at our meeting tonight, just horror stories.
Shirts, not getting medals.
The truck pulling up, closing the door.
Get their names and
Right.
we'll mail them to them. So that's what we tell runners.
Right,
Show up with no boo for the course, none. We were told that it was ordered, and we were told, we told people at the expo, it's ordered, it'll be at these mile markers, none. You don't put runners at risk that way.
I know, and all I can tell you is we just don't do it that way.
So you do have nutrition on course.
Yeah, right. I mean, have we ever not had? Have we ever not?
We in our half marathon races, we typically don't provide goo or a gel. We started to a little bit, but we don't typically do on the half marathon.
You need to. I just ran one that gave 2 goos on the half. You need to.
But for the full, we typically have. But we always have water and isotonic and some sort of a fruit or something that's out on the course.
Yeah, and believe me, if you can run a little interference for us to talk to the folks at Harmon's, we would love to talk to them about helping us out in some sort of sponsorship in return for provisions. We do it in Florida with Publix, and it's worked out so well that they're now the title sponsor of the Georgia Marathon. We want the runner's experience to be as good as it can be. And
I will say, this is not our first race. We do own, and I would encourage you to get on those Facebook pages and look. We have got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
We run nothing but first class events.
And I understand. Before I answer your Rob question, I think did you have a question? Yeah.
I was just curious, it's a little off track, but where do you see the race in the next few years? Like where you envision it to be?
Bigger and better.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely.
I don't know.
I don't know how big this race can get.
What do you do to create that?
Well, I think that as a runner, if you if you show up to the race, and from the moment you get out of your car, things go smoothly, that gives you a pretty good feeling that maybe this is a race you want to come back to, or tell people to come back as well. So, like you're talking about with the little things, which I don't think are little, but if your fluid stations are amply supplied and they're there, and the volunteers are there and they're helpful and friendly and kind and courteous, and you like the shirt and you like the medal, and there's some course entertainment out there, and there's some cheer zones to encourage you to keep running and to make you feel better about the fact that you're at mile 21 and you really just want to be home on the couch. And there's some post-race food, and there's a good expo, and there's some entertainment post-race. All of those things, and we ask our runners all the time. In fact, any of you who run, you're going to get a survey, and you might get one right when you're finished. You might get one afterwards online, and we hope that you fill them out, because the stuff that you give back to us, we'll do our best to turn around and give back to you guys. Yes, sir.
But what I'm going to say is, what are you going to do to make it better? In my opinion, a runner has a bill of rights when he puts down that $100 to get the fruit, to get the goo, to have a measured course, to have mile markers in the right spot.
Right.
That should just be a given.
Me too. I completely agree.
What you're going to do to make this a better event? Do we have a 5-year club, a 10-year club? Are you going to? Yeah, you're going to attract other people to our community. What are you going to do for the Utah community, the Salt Lake community that's gone away?
Well, I hate to answer a question with a question, but I'm going to do that anyways. Okay. Tell me what you want. Or better yet, what do you want?
like I mentioned, probably a 5-year or 10-year club would be something. We have other races that...
Just to answer that question, yes, we will have a 5-year, 10-year.
I would want it to be more of a community. You're bringing stuff back to our community. Are we outsourcing the vendors for T-shirts? Are we bringing the printers from out of state? You know, all those kinds of things. How are you going to help Salt Lake City and the economy? I talked to some officials today from Salt Lake City, and they said, you know, yeah, most likely it's going to happen, but in a lot of conversations, we'd like to see it go away.
They'd like to see the race go away?
Yep.
Wow.
And so that's why I'm saying this is our hometown marathon. I've done it 8 years. I would like to see it get better. I'm not blaming it on the Salt Lake organization. Like they mentioned, a lot of it has been the Chicago problems. And I just want to see and hear, not the smoke and mirrors of what we've done, but what you're going to do.
Well, yeah, and you're not going to get any smoke and mirrors. And there's no smoke and mirrors about what we have done, because everything that we've done is factual. And I can give you smoke and mirrors about what we might do, but I won't even do that. A 5-year, 10-year club, absolutely. I mean, Lululemon in Miami this year made these beautiful male and female sweatshirts for our 10-year club down there. And I think there was 250 of them.
Something like that, yeah.
And we had people at the expo with every single name of every single person who had to come up, give their ID, and we had a sweatshirt, waiting for them. We love to do that stuff. I love to see people who've come around 10 years in a row. So that, yeah, we can do that. Does it make it a better runner experience if we buy our T-shirts here versus somewhere else? No. But you know what? If a vendor here came to us and said, I'll give you the same quality shirt that you're currently producing at the same price that you're getting it elsewhere, we absolutely would want to work with that guy. But if the guy comes and says the shirt's of lesser quality and it costs $1 more, we're not going to do that. And I hope that you don't take offense to that. But I'd rather give you guys a better shirt and take that extra $1 and try to put it into, more goo or more entertainment or more something where you guys see it on the running side, rather than the other side. And I hope that doesn't offend you in that answer, but that's just kind of how we view it.
But what I'd kind of like to hear that it's not just strictly a business venture, because we hear people say, "Oh, I want to put on a race." It's a business venture.
It's both.
Obviously, you've got to make money or break even.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do to bring something back to
Well, look, and again, I don't know if an economic impact study has been done here, but I can tell you in Miami, the economic impact to the city, not this year, but last year when we had 20% fewer runners, was almost $60 million. And that is a big number. And it will never be that high here unless you guys can really go out and sell this race for us. But it's $60 million. And so I would make an argument that there may be some people who don't like the race in Miami only because it bogged up traffic for them. But it certainly can't be in the retail community, and it certainly can't be on the municipalities because they're making taxes on that $60 million. And that makes a big difference to people. Yes?
Well, on the same note, I guess the same thing is, what are your commitments to the Salt Lake City race here? That's, I guess, it's the same note that we want to hear. What are your commitments and vision?
If you're not making money, are you going to be here 3 years from now?
Well, again, we've never sold a race. We had to shut one race down. We had a 13.1 in Minneapolis. We did it for 3 years. We lost $100,000 last year. And so we elected not to lose $100,000 again this year. And that's the first time that we've done that. I can tell you that the first time we had our 13.1 in Los Angeles, we lost over $100,000, and we didn't shut that race down, and we still haven't made money with it. Though we came pretty close to breaking even. It's a bad business model if everything you do loses money. And I can also tell you that the amount of money that we make as a company is a fraction to the amount of money that our platform of races raises for charity. I mean, a fraction. I think that last year, I think the combined total of absolute dollars raised for charity by runners who ran in our events was $10 million. And part of the reason why I even got into this business, I wanted to be in a business where I could make a reasonable living, but also be in a business where we could be giving back rather than waiting until I was 75 years old and then trying to parcel off whatever I had left, to some random charities. So, we work with, a lot of charities like Huntsman. Probably our number one charity in our races is World Vision. World Vision probably has 3,500 runners through our races, Steve, and they probably raise $3 or $4 million a year on those 3,500 runners, and we feel really proud about that. And I mean, really proud. And if you called the guys who run that running organization for World Vision, I think they'd say the same thing, about their relationship with us, because they can't get runners to come run races to raise money for them unless the races that they're running are well produced, well organized, on good courses at good times of the year. And that's what we provide for them. And that is, this is kind of a risky enterprise. I mean, a lot goes into it, a lot of man hours and a lot of manpower, and you can come out at the end of the day and go, holy cow, we just spent all this time and we lost money. It's, making payroll is one thing, but making payroll and at the end of the year knowing that you're coming out of pocket, your personal pocket for the year coming up, I've done that. And unless you sit in that chair, you don't really know just how uncomfortable that chair is. So we have no intention of selling this race. We bought a basket of snakes, for gosh sakes. We're going to write, a lot of checks to put this race on without any real assurance that we have permits. I mean, that's what, we're, everybody should walk in everybody's shoes. I'm not saying that my shoes are bad ones, because if they were, I wouldn't walk in them myself. But, I think we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're sticking our neck out here. We're gonna put on a great race for you guys. At least we hope it's going to be a great race. And I can tell you that 2013 is going to be better than 2012 because we'll have more than 60 days to plan and prepare for. Yes.
Will the terms of the race purchase be made public?
I don't think so. I mean, it's really, we never really do that with any of our other races, so there's no reason to start doing it now. It's a private transaction, and it's a private transaction. Yes, sir.
I may have misread this in the paper and whatnot. Are you guys honoring those of us that have already signed up? Like, I signed up in November.
Right.
And I'm still honored to run the race and everything else.
You come, you run.
I still get a medal, shirt, all that.
You know what? Absolutely. The only thing I can't do is I can't refund your money if the city says there's no race because I didn't get your money.
Yeah.
And
what do you guys do? I have a friend who signed up and unfortunately tore his ACL and can't run. And we'd like to have somebody else run in his place. Is there a way to do that?
We would prefer that they just medically defer to next year.
Okay.
Because we need people to register, we need people to fill out the forms and check waivers and all that stuff.
Right, we got an insurance issue on that.
Yeah.
So if he's ruptured his Achilles and he can't run, it's pretty easy. We'll give him medical deferment to next year. We'll just roll to next year.
And that'll be available online? And
that's going to be email. Yeah, so I give you my card afterwards, and you can have your friend reach out to me, and that's easy for us.
And I think we've demonstrated, at least we've tried to demonstrate, that we're pretty available. We're pretty. And I put my email address out to Amy Donaldson, and she published it in the Deseret News, and I got plenty of emails, more than my wife wanted me to be answering over the weekend. So we're trying to be as responsive as we can be.
Actually, Peter, that's a great segue into the last question. It's about 8:30. Again, my name is Carter Williamson. I'm honored. I think it says a lot for two points, really, about the store that we all love. We all love running for many different reasons. Salt Lake Running Company does a great job. Thanks, Guy and the whole team, for giving a venue for these questions to be asked. Thank you all for coming on last-second notice to come and ask these questions. And again, I go back to Peter and Steve, and we haven't met yet. But thank you all for investing and being willing to stand up here and get some hard questions asked and be willing to get a race going. And get the right goo and get the right drinks and make sure that the porta potties are in the right place and that the water truck's not in somebody's yard. It matters to all of us. That's why we run and why y'all are here. So thanks, everybody. So one last question, if y'all are so inclined, and then thanks again, guys.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. Yes, sir.
What kind of numbers do you already have registered, and what do you expect?
You know, we checked this yesterday, and on the full and the half, we're at about 62 or 3% of last year's number.
Which?
Between the full and the half, we're about 62% of last year's number. I think last year in the half there were 3,900 and change, and so we're at 2,600 or 2,400, somewhere in that range. Steve, on the full last year it was 1,600, and we're at 1,000. Is that right?
That sounds.
I might be wrong on that, but I know that between the two numbers, because we were more concerned about percentages than we were about absolute numbers for right now, it's somewhere in the low 60s. Our goal is to have the number be the same number as it was in 2011. I don't know that we're going to get there because it's a big push in a short period of time. You know, all I really care about in trying to get to 2011 for 2012 is it gives us a better platform for 2013. If it turns out that we only pick up another 8 or 10% and we're running at 70 or 75% of last year, I'll fully understand because of all the uncertainty that surrounds the race or has surrounded the race. But our goal is to try to get it back up to where it was last year in a short period of time. We all good? Good enough? Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and Guy, thank you very much. Listen,